This is June the 5th, 2026, and this is the IPS DEPROGRAM. Today we're going to be discussing a number of things. The spider alien thing still has me, and there's more to it. We're going to dig deeper into the War of the World connections to the coming soccer game, including a mention of a psychic who says that aliens are going to invade during the game. And we have some predictive programming connected to that in some strange places, including a sports fan running into an NBA game being called an invader, and he's photographed with a 7'4" player who's referred to as an alien, and he makes contact with this individual who is the alien. Very bizarre. And then I want to look at the structure behind the White House. And I guess we're going to get into the theme of aliens landing on the White House lawn, which is not new. And then the 90-foot tall statue of the monkey god has been brought up again in a different context. We'll get into that as well. And then we'll get into the White Lives Matter stuff a little bit. But the spider alien thing is kind of where I want to start. But the White Lives Matter thing, I did want to ask your opinions. Do you think Henry Novak, or Nowak, I've heard it pronounced both, is he really dead? Or was he a crisis actor, and this some kind of engineered stunt to generate what it has pretty much precipitated? And what's interesting about this thing, by the way, is you have this White Lives Matter thing going on. They're kneeling. They're taking a knee, like everyone did for George Floyd. In fact, I have an image here of Steven Crowder taking a knee with his fist raised and tears in his eyes. And of course, that's AI. He's sharing the notion. He's suggesting that we need to do this, but I have yet to see him actually hit his knee. So this is another story. But I'm curious as to whether people think that this individual actually died, or if it's some kind of a psyop, or both. Like maybe he died, and they found, hey, this would make a good psyop. But I want to get into the reasons why I am leaning towards fake until proven real, and that's largely based on the context. Anthony Carmelo, another stabber, he kills Austin Metcalf, and gets sentenced, or he goes to court this week. And then you have this Henry Novak's killer being sentenced this week. So these things have been brought up in context as though they're part of the same thing, this attack on whites. And so they're put together as martyrs alongside Charlie Kirk and the Subway Girl. And I refuse to remember her name because I was told to say her name, she's your sister, she's your mother, you're Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to identify with any of your martyrs. But special effects wise, that one wouldn't be hard to pull off. But the incompetence of the police was all too believable. So again, I'm kind of on the fence. But regardless, the timing of it pretty much says psyop, whether or not he's actually dead. Then, in addition to the BLM kind of mirroring they're doing here, they go to the parents' house, or the grandparents' house of the stabber. Because they've looked into his family. Like his brother has also been in the news for waving a sword in traffic. And then they go to his grandparents' house and they do a January 6 on it. Like it looks like J6. A bunch of right-wingers or anti-immigrant types with flags crawling all over the house. It just looks all staged to me, but we'll see. Let's go, Northern Girl. Barry Yankowski, thanks for joining. He says rafters. Yep. We're here in the raft. And the raft is going to reach critical raft. It's the critical mass tipping point where the off-world stage perspective now has occupied territory on the world stage. And we don't need their approval. We're not trying to communicate with them. We're not currying favor. We're just basically taking over an area. We're colonizing, you could say. We're colonizing the world stage. I mean, this is a real alien invasion. Whatever they do, with the special effects or the psyops. What we're doing constitutes an actual alien invasion in a lot of ways, because it's an alien viewpoint. It's an outsider perspective. It's a wider perspective that's more informed, more situationally aware about Psy-War, but it's essentially alien. That's why I say don't try to convert normies or people who are in the box, because they don't have the perspective that's required to see it. You're asking too much of them. UFC area, 52 Pennsylvania area. Oh, Avenue. 52 Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah, well, I was looking at the structure, and Trump said they might keep it. It's like an Eiffel Tower. And let me go ahead and let's jump into that. So we'll get into White Lives Matter in a bit. I'm just trying to get it out there right away. What do you think? Is it a real killing, a real death, or no? So yesterday we talked about this. War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, which is not insignificant. This is an actor who's worked with Stanley Kubrick, major space faker, major metascripter. His movies are heavily coded with sun god, resurrecting sun god hero archetypes, Gnostic Jesus, and then his entire life is encoded with 33s in ways that have been talked about in the mainstream, including the fact that he divorces every one of his wives when they attain the age of 33. What does this all mean? Well, when you get into these actors, you have to look at the archetypes they embody across multiple movies, and Tom Cruise is this archetypal hero, but you always see him hanging. You always see him like crucified, hanging, suspended, or falling. And that's part of his whole thing. But here you have War of the Worlds, directed by Steven Spielberg. And we talked about War of the Worlds in the sense of it being sort of a prototype for a media entity setting off a mass panic. And it's because there's no reality testing and blind trust in what we're talking about how they played it on the radio and people supposedly thought it was real and panicked. Whether or not it's exaggerated, the premise is the same. If you have total trust in the authority and they cry fire, you're going to respond as though there's a fire. And that's what psyops are for. You know, they use emergencies to institute changes. And it seems to me that there'd be no better time, given the state of media and how fragmented everyone is as far as where we put our attention, there'd be no better time to run a global psyop than during the World Cup. So now, I'm pointing out here that the World Cup trophy is objectively ugly. And I'm not really an art critic, but it looks half finished. It looks melted. It looks like it's already been nuked. It looks like the alien hand clutching the globe in War of the Worlds. So now we're talking about predictive programming, symbolism, and how they put elements of these historical events they're going to simulate for us. They put it out there in advance, and it creates strong associations, which I often talk about. We discuss predictive programming as a form of advertising, conditioning, habituating, suggestion, planting frameworks. We've discussed all these different uses of it, applications, but I think there's also the association thing. And it works. For example, 30 minutes after the Butler, Pennsylvania event, there were people on the YouTube video from 2010, Machete, comparing the scene to Trump's near assassination. 30 minutes. Someone actually said, 30 minutes ago, this was Trump's POV. Now, it's funny, but I'm pointing out it's a bad movie, terrible in fact, but how does a terrible movie from 14 years ago instantaneously come to mind when you see something on the world stage, on the news? It says something about the nature of, I think, our programming environment, where we are given all kinds of suggestions far in advance. So when we say programming, the word is pretty accurate. It's like MK Ultra, the idea that they can trigger certain embedded memories. And that's exactly what we're seeing. So I often say that we have, collectively, we have MK Ultra. This is an MK Ultra world. And we're talking about trauma-induced mind control to put people into a altered, unreal state, so they're pliable and they're controlled and they're totally gaslit, basically turning people into automatons that are purely reactive. Armin Rue says, the Football World Cup trophy remains unchanged for decades on end. Yeah, I don't know what came. I'm sure this atrocious trophy came before the War of the Worlds movie. I'm just pointing out that this association is particularly strong here. Now, let's compare some other elements. So here's the UFC stadium, or where they're going to have the White House fight night on June 14th. So Trump's birthday is also Flag Day, and they're having fight night in front of the White House. So that structure, and by the way, Erica Kirk is going to host it. She's going to host this event. As unbelievable as that sounds, I mean, if Charlie Kirk wasn't dead, she wouldn't even be considered. Charlie Kirk would never be considered. What has platformed this person? What gives her this? It's because she's a scripted fake character, and this is all part of an ongoing, prefabricated series of events. She's likely going to be VP under J.D. Vance if you go by Heads of State, which came out in 2025. But anyway, Erica Kirk is a character on the world stage, as was Charlie Kirk. One of the things they do to help maintain the essential reality of the Charlie Kirk thing is they give you this backstory that Erica was a villain. And so she was a villain, he was a good guy. She was playing a role, and he was like Truman in the Truman Show, and his wife's working for the system. And they maintain this this narrative, I think, just to protect the essential story that he was killed. But you have to realize that they're both villains. And that, yeah, there was a Truman Show, and Charlie was in it, but he's one of the actors. You're the Truman. And it's a collective Truman Show. And one more thing on this point. I was talking about how there were certain mainstream channels that were co-opting the topic of Charlie Kirk and the squib, and they weren't taking it any further than maybe, maybe not. They weren't saying if he was squibbed, who was involved, what does it say about media. They didn't go anywhere with it. They said maybe he faked his death to dodge an assassination bullet from the Mossad. That's what they boiled it down to. So anyway, the individual, his name was Jesse on Fire. He's the one that was popularizing this idea that Charlie Kirk did fake his death. And I told you, this guy's got to be some kind of disinformation agent. He's going to miscontextualize it. He's going to take the truth and bury it. Well, here is this fool today. This is absurd. Now, this just proves my point. That all of these popular channels, this guy's got 600,000 subs, real or not, he's presented as an authority, an influencer. Listen to him. And so here he is, 2 years too late, contemplating if Butler was fake. 6 months or 7 months too late, speculating on Charlie Kirk. And he runs that truth into the ground, as I expected he would. There's no way he would talk to one of us, little folk at the bottom, these small, 'cause this is all fake grassroots. Alt media is totally controlled. He would never have a smaller channel on that talk about the proposition that Charlie's still alive, but not putting it in the context of Israel did it, which is their go-to scapegoat on the far right. Anyway, this guy's revealed himself to be a total fool, sort of like Professor Yang. All of these gatekeepers eventually expose themselves. So here's where he's at right now. Jeffrey Epstein is alive. He's in Florida, right where he wants to be, according to the people most familiar. The evidence is overwhelming. It should go without saying. Now this is it. This is Palm Beach Pete. This isn't even April Fool's Day. The mystery behind Palm Beach Pete. So what he's suggesting is that the guy who's making himself famous for looking like Epstein, who recently had a DNA test to prove he's not, he's saying this guy is Epstein. So the story is, according to them, in their warped version, the real Palm Beach Pete was killed and presented as a dead Epstein. The real Epstein moved to Florida and took over the life of this tennis player, Palm Beach Pete. And now he's living as Palm Beach Pete and mocking all the truthers by going on their podcasts for his resemblance to Epstein, for which they've made him into something of a celebrity. Anyway, this individual basically says, let me find it here. Here it is. I expect an enormous number of people who will say it's crazy. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. The thing is, I don't think he would accept anything as proof. Palm Beach Pete has already demonstrated that he's Palm Beach Pete. Not just because he doesn't even look like Jeffrey Epstein or sound like him. I mean, he only looks like him from across the street in sunglasses from the profile when he's driving by at 50 miles per hour. There's no suggestion he does look like the guy. It's not even close. And this guy has a footprint, a history. Anyway, this is my point. This person is there to muddy the waters, to take the truth and bury it in absurdity. You can't take someone like this seriously. So when he says, oh, maybe Charlie Kirk didn't actually kill himself or didn't get killed, but he faked his death. Now that sounds ludicrous because it's coming from the guy who thinks that Palm Beach Pete is Jeffrey Epstein. This is almost as bad as the QAnon kooks saying that John Stossel was JFK Jr. Or that the hobo, they found this hobo. Have you seen him? His name is Vincent Fuchsia. You got this hobo character who's like 5'2", scrawny, and I mean, honestly, he looks like he just hopped off of a train. And like, this is JFK Jr. in disguise. And all the JFK Jr. fans swarm this guy. He's got groupies for days. And they don't consider, how did he get this mask on and this costume that managed to entirely just change everything about him? They'll believe anything. These people are fools. And anyway, Jesse on Fire has been, in my view, totally debunked. So Hermes Hernandez says, that doesn't look like Jeffrey. And he says, of course not. He got a nose job. He just moved the goalpost a little bit. That's not him. So Jeffrey Epstein did all that just to sound like Kermit the Frog. Good job. Yeah, their voices are different. Tim Dog says, I hate my life because of this post. Oh, Fig Bella says, Jesse is here to poison the well, dilute and detract. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good call there. The teeth aren't the same or the ears, LOL. Anyway, this isn't serious. These individuals are not serious. Jesse on Fire is obviously a PSYOP operative. And I'm not isolating him. I'm just pointing out that he is typical of these big truther channels. They don't go anywhere near the truth. They don't. They have no discernment. They just promote clickbait and entertaining stuff. So now let's get back to this spider thing. So we're talking about War of the Worlds. And I was thinking about Rocky. So here's Rocky, the spider alien that Ryan Gosling mated with. Although it's in the subtext. I mean, they didn't actually show it, but they pretty much do. I mean, how many times did they recycle the joke? They just kept saying it. Fist my bump. Fist my bump. And then they're sleeping next to each other, and Grace is talking about how awkward it is. Or not awkward, how close they've become, how familiar. And he's staring into the thing's orifice. I mean, the whole thing is just full of innuendo. You could say it's a rom-com. I think that the spider babies at the end were their spider babies. It's there in the subtext. But I mean, I could be wrong, but the messaging was clear. That we're supposed to mate with the aliens, not go to war with them. These are our galactic space brothers here to improve us, save us. They're benevolent. And this one was instrumental in helping save the Earth by preventing our sun from dying. So here's that spider alien. And I just noted how strange it was considering you have Spider-Man out in the theaters. You have Spider-Noir, which I started watching with Nick Cage. I don't know if it's good or not. To be honest, it feels like if you just took Batman and swapped him out for Spider-Man, it'd be the same thing. I mean, I've only watched one episode just to get the gist of it. But you have this Spider-Man archetype brought back again. So you got Spider-Man, Ryan Gosling and the Spider. And then you have Adam Sandler with the Spider Alien. So the Spider Alien thing's been coming to mind. And then I looked into Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie. David Bowman, Space Odyssey, Space Oddity. His music, the first music video in space. He's got an effigy in the Tesla Roadster, orbiting the sun or whatever. And Bowie has a lot of parallels in his music to the new space age. I think that's where his propaganda fits. Anyway, David Bowie had the backup band called the Spiders from Mars. And, the man who fell to Earth, the whole story seems to imply the contact that we have with our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters. So here is the spider alien again. Next. This is called Eagle. This is an abstract sculpture in Olympic Sculpture Park, Seattle, and you can see the Space Needle beneath it. Someone shared this because it looks very War of the World-ish, and I brought up this. War of the Worlds had these big mechanical spider-like entities that were harvesting the humans. Terrifying. They ought to unleash some of those things, like make some smaller versions. And instead of doing these predator catching videos where they lure a predator into like a Walmart and then like 5 big guys will gang up on him and make him admit to being a perv. Instead, they just ought to unleash some of these things on him. They're like mobile wood chippers on legs. I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's grotesque. Flying High says, Henry Novak, R.I.P. I don't know. I mean, either he's dead or he got a big paycheck. Because we don't know if it's real or not. I'm still undecided. I need more information. Now, if you have more information, please share it so you can enlighten us. If your information is just solely down to like emotions, it doesn't count. Kevin Oring says, all the people coming out of the sewers in New York reminds me of the Dark Knight when they blow up the sewers. Yeah, you have a bunch of people dressed up like maintenance workers disappearing into the manholes. I thought maybe they were looking for that lady that fell into the manhole, but different manhole. But manholes have been in the news. And it does kind of suggest something. You know, the underground, are they planting things? In fact, that was the theme in the Penguin series. If you were disappointed by Joker 2, you got to watch Penguin. It makes up for it. I didn't know Colin Farrell was the Penguin. I thought that was just an actor who looked like that. That's how good the deepfake tech is. The deepfake tech is so good that you, unless someone tells you, you might not know. Spider Vecna in Stranger Things. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. There's something up. And so the underground is another theme here. The whole, what do they call it? The upside down. Looks like the Mind Flayer, says Big Enchilada. Okay, that's what I'm getting at here. There's got to be some significance to the spider itself. I've been trying to determine what this could be. But I'm just saying, the narrative of a UFO or aliens landing on the White House lawn isn't new. So now you have this White House event coming up where you actually have a spider-like structure. I mean, in my view, it looks similar to those. I'm just noting the similarity. So the UFC Fight Night, June 14th, right there in front of the White House, has this spider-like entity. And of course, it's another sporting event that it's associated with, which kind of ties right back in to the idea of War of the Worlds, aliens arriving during the World Cup, which would make sense. I mean, the idea for some time has been halftime shows or in some situation where it's going to be seen by everyone. And then I have this video here earmarked of a psychic who claims that there's going to be some kind of alien invasion during, here it is. Psychic predicts alien invasion during the World Cup. Now, I don't know who she is.
Eu tô até zonza. São 4:30 da manhã.
I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's not in English, but she's basically saying that they're going to invade during the soccer game. So now, to get back to what was posted earlier in what I would call predictive programming, NBA chief warns fans after stupid court invasion. So here you have the court invader who will be banned from NBA for life. So a sporting event, the invader, court invasion. These are the words that are being used in this context. And then the person he's next to, that he makes contact with, is San Antonio Spur Victor Wembanyama, who has a reputation as one of basketball's most unique talents at 7'4", With guard-like ball handling, perimeter shooting, and shot blocking ability, he's inspired a nickname that sticks to him among the fans, the Alien. So you have, again, classic concurrent programming, kind of like Alejandro Kirk around the time of the Charlie Kirk thing or the Charlie Sheen. They get a lot of the important memes and messages out there in advance, like all the explosions, which we'll get into, because there's a lot of explosions in the news, which, again, we sort of predicted it here. I said, when T2 comes out, you'll see they're plastering onto the mass consciousness the nuke, the mushroom cloud. And since then, there have been a number of conspicuous mushroom clouds, from the Blue Origin explosion to that fireworks factory and several others, even some more since, including a lot of evacuation things. So we've had several scenes that have required evacuations. So again, court invasion, the invader, alien, overlapping in a number of ways. Which again is very consistent with what we've been told. Astronauts told to shelter in place. So the cracks in the space station resulted in them all getting into the capsule, getting ready to abandon ship. So we talked about that. We'll get into that again more later. War of the Worlds, the White House thing. I Can't Breathe, justice for Henry Novak. So they've appropriated I Can't Breathe. And the kneeling thing. The kneeling thing is taken off as well. And this is something I never really expected we would see. I'd never thought the political will would be there, but it's not in America. Because the American right wing, they just tweet about it. They don't actually hit the streets. Big Enchilada says, weaving spiders come not here at Bohemian Grove. Kevin Mooring, It. Yeah, that's a good one. So It, in the TV show, it was essentially a big spider that would present itself as a hologram or something of a clown, but it was actually a big spider. Very strange. Spider-Man, Spider Noir, and then Kyle Rittenhouse getting bitten by a spider, and they make a big story about it. So we'll continue to monitor the spider aliens as it correlates to the World Cup and Fight Night at the White House. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that I think aliens are going to show up on that day, but there's a strong correlation between aliens and nukes. That the nuke happens and the aliens follow. These things have been associated very strongly for a very long time. So these things may go together. In fact, I was looking at this article that just popped up in my feed. It was showing the bicentennial at the White House, and they were just exploding a bunch of fireworks in front of it. And honestly, it looked like it was getting nuked. Incredible photos from America's 1776 bicentennial. See that? It looks like the White House is getting blown up. And then season 5, The Boys, finale, Oval Office, the Homelander, aka Trump, gets EMP'd. He gets a blast that takes away his powers. And I think there's a lot there to suggest something similar. So when or if they do the Seattle thing, I imagine it would also have other targets as well. Plain Dakota, yeah, you can call in whenever. There's just so much to talk about. We've covered the main topics, but I'm interested in people's opinions on any of these things. Trump supporters in Wisconsin, just to see him, to breathe the same air that Donald Trump is breathing. Oh my gosh, it would be awesome. I'm bringing this up because Trump canceled America's 250th anniversary rock show, and he said he's bigger than Elvis. He's going to take it over. And then you have these women who are basically treating him like he's Elvis. I mean, are they real? Yeah, I think this is probably real. I'm sure they live in a bubble somewhere. Euphoria News says, this is grotesque opportunism, referring to Henry Novak, hijacking the fresh corpse of an 18-year-old British kid who was stabbed to death. Unsurvivable wounds. Police didn't cause it, so they can retroactively own the libs, invert the Floyd script, and vent racial grievances using a decade-old American protest props that have zero factual connection to Southampton. Well, I wouldn't say fresh corpse. One of the things that some people may have missed here is that he died at the end of 2025. So, it's been 6 months, and the whole thing has already been handled by the system. So the timing of it is why I'm saying it's a psyop, whether or not he's actually dead. And if he is dead, let's say he is dead and this thing really did happen, I'm still not taking a knee or lining up with a bunch of political agitators, nor am I taking this as some kind of a race war thing. So I'm not really White Lives Matter. I'm not Black Lives Matter. I'm not an anti. I'm not a pro. These are all controlled opposition movements. Taking a dying boy's actual words, "I've been stabbed, I can't breathe," twist them into a slogan from a different country, stage mocking the knees. This is pretty a pretty good breakdown of it. This looks like emotional looting, using Henry's death as a prop for pre-existing scores to settle. And then here is the killer's brother in a road rage incident. This is by the Daily Mail, waving a sword around. So that's kind of convenient. There's already a story here, part of this family. Sort of like how the last two Trump assassination attempts were done by individuals who had previous media footprints. Okay, here's police taking the knee. No, I'm sorry, the police won't take the knee. The protesters are yelling at them to take the knee. But no, they're taking out their batons and getting their dogs. And they're contrasting this with George Floyd. Because if you remember, during George Floyd, the police basically kneeled. They got on their backs, exposed their bellies. They basically just placated the mob. It was pretty pathetic. And, here they're doing what they should be doing, which is their job. But they're being reprimanded by the crowd for not kneeling.
On your fucking knees!
Unbelievable. Again, I'm curious as to what you think. Is this a real death? So I put a poll out. Is Henry Novak's death real, fake, or real, then turned into a psyop? The timing of his sentencing links it to Austin Metcalf and his killer on trial. The same influencer propagandists are overtly linking it to George Floyd. So far, 100% of those who voted have said it's a fake death hoax psyop. All right, astronauts aboard the ISS have been told to prepare for an evacuation due to a worsening air leak.
Ordered to shelter in the spacecraft and prepare for evacuation. This is over worsening air leaks on the Russian segment.
A couple of years ago, a movie called ISS came out on January 19th. And I watched it to see what they would do with the hair. Because the special effects for hair in space looks better than what NASA can do. Like, you watch a space movie and the hair flows. It looks like, wow, they're in zero G. You watch NASA and it looks like they just use a bunch of hairspray. It's pretty obvious what you're looking at with NASA. It's a joke, actually. Long time joke. Medusa, for example. But I watched the ISS movie thinking, if they make the hair too good, it's going to be a problem. It's going to make NASA look dumb. So I thought, well, maybe they're intentionally more or less holding back on how good their special effects can be so they don't outpace NASA by too far. And sure enough, there was not one loose hair in the entire movie. It's like all female astronauts had their hair slicked back, ponytailed, nothing. Cubstar says so the astronauts can't breathe either. Zinbella says call Don Petit to fix the leak. By the way, phones are open. It is 888-886-HOAX. Phones are open. It's 90 degrees here. Looks like it's going to rain. But it's extremely, obscenely hot. I can't wait to get to Seattle. By the way, I leave to Seattle in 5 days. I have a one-way ticket in case I get nuked. And also because I plan to drive back. And I didn't want to choose a date until I knew for sure. I mean, this is something of a educated guess. It's a test. We're examining all of the best, I guess you'd say evidence, but the best suggestions that something is in the works. And everything seems to be aligning. Everything we're looking at seems to confirm this. And I'm not saying it's 100%. It could be biased confirmation, but things are looking very suspicious, especially in light of the recent spate of explosions, high-profile mushroom clouds. And there's quite a lot more going on in that regard. So I'm going out there as a way to validate our model. And if it works, as in if something happens, I'm going to have to stay around to see exactly what. Unless something happens and it's, quote, real, as some people think. Again, the past behavior is a pretty reliable predictor of what's coming next, and I don't think they're suddenly going to make it real. By the way, Carl Sagan, 1966. Carl Sagan was talking about aliens. And honestly, I agree with everything he says here. He says, I think a key to what's behind the real belief in flying saucers is most easily obtained if you look at the contact myths. Now, this is interesting because these days, the UFOs, the aliens that show up are in these, like, you know, the grays. They're slick. They're not even human. They're more insectoid. They don't even seem humanoid. But it seems like the previous contacts, the ones that Sagan is referencing here, they show up as almost like gods. So he says here, the inhabitants of the saucers are benevolent, omnipotent, and they wear long white robes. The key to knowing what's behind belief in flying saucers is most easily obtained if you look at the contact myths. This isn't science, it's religion. The flying saucer myths are really just a clever compromise. So what he's explaining here, and I'll play a clip from it, and I'm going to play the last part of it, is that UFO belief has become, or is, and always has been, a religion, and it's serving a religious function. So I don't think he got the memo that they were artificially creating alienology as the new state religion.
And yet people have the same needs to believe that they always did, perhaps more so because of the times we live in. Well, the flying saucer myths are a really clever compromise. It's a way of having beings that come from the sky, that are worried about us, that are powerful, that are going to step in and prevent us from destroying ourselves, as we very well might, and yet have it in the cloak of science, so that no one can say nonsense that doesn't match science. It's all very pseudo-scientific.
So they're going to step in and save us from ourselves. Now, okay, so I've noticed that there's this theme where it used to be they want to save us from nuking each other, but some other iterations, they're saving us from climate change, like Tenet or Ollie in the 100, wipes us out to stop climate change. And I think that might even be the story in Terminator 2. They were coming back, the robots are coming back in time. I got to look at let me ask Perplexity if there was a climate change theme there. Wouldn't shock me. In Terminator 2, why were the robots at war with humans? Did it have any kind of climate change subtext? It would be very on brand for James Cameron if that's the case. And I think, Jonathan Nolan, is he the one that did Tenet, or was that Christopher Nolan? But regardless, which one of those metascriptors did it, that one was also containing the same idea. Even The Matrix. The Matrix begins with, we black out the sun to shut off the robots, I think. But anyway, the big enchilada says Ja Bulan, the supposed god of the Masons. Does he have a spider body? As far as I'm able to determine, I think the Masons worship the Demiurge, the great architect. By the way, I was doing some research on the deck of tarot cards that Aleister Crowley designed with the help of an artist named Lady Frida Harris. And I found some pictures of her in Masonic lodges. And so you can find, if you look, that, yeah, you think of the Masonic lodges as a fraternity, male-dominated, etc., but no, it used to be, or in a lot of places, that it's actually co-ed. Okay, so Terminator 2 is mostly about nuclear annihilation, not climate change specifically, but there is a broader environmental reading. Skynet represents human-made systems spinning out of control, warning us that the technologies built can become catastrophic when treated as solutions without restraint. So the robots at war with humans are a metaphor for our own self-destructive invention. Did you see that robot with the clown wig kicking the kid in the chest? And all the people around just stood by and laughed? Laser says Civil War III men versus machines. Yep. Jonathan and Christopher Hitman brother had the codename Oppenheimer. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, Oppenheimer said, supposedly, when they blasted the thing, I have become death, destroyer of worlds. And the destroyer, Abaddon is the destroyer, Revelation 9:11. We were connecting these dots, and you can actually find quite a lot to correlate with Trump and 9/11 already. You know how many times you find Trump in predictive programming where the movie references 9/11 before it happened? It goes not just Back to the Future, but any Trump-related character is either a 9/11, an assassination attempt, or both. So the idea of Trump being associated with this next thing makes entirely too much sense. Okay, so Ja Bulan is part spider, frog, cat, and King Charles. Yeah, I saw the King Charles resemblance. Yeah, phones are still open if you want to call in. It's 888-866-HOAX. But yes, I'm in total agreement with Carl Sagan. And he says the whole field, because I said ufology is not an ology. There's no rigor, there's no scientific examination of the subject. He said it has more to do with like theology and psychology.
I would think that that at least for the contact myths and probably for a lot of the events of people who just see things they don't understand flying overhead, that what's involved psychology and theology.
Psychology and theology, and he said also people not being able to identify what's over their heads. I think he's referencing New Jersey, where they get confused over regular airplanes. They had a huge panic about it a couple years ago. They thought regular airplanes were alternately UFOs or Chinese drones. They also thought the planet Venus was an invading flying saucer. Others thought the stars were, quote, orbs that you could telepathically talk to. I mean, there's like this mass psychosis that is just bubbling beneath the surface. Like, this is a mass psychosis. Thousands of English people in the streets chanting, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. This is organic. It's a people's movement. England will change. So this is Martin Sellner talking about this. He's a co-founder of Save Europe Act, calling it organic. Sagan looks like... Yeah, I don't know. You want to call in? Soccer and Aliens, The Tomorrow War. Okay, this is a good post in Discord. So there's a movie called Tomorrow War from 2021 with Chris Pratt. It's a sci-fi film where humanity uses time travel to draft present-day soldiers into the future to fight a losing war against a deadly alien species. So Tomorrow War opens up, and you've watched the trailer, where the whole family's gathered around watching a soccer game. And the soccer game is interrupted by an alien invasion.
Okay, none of you are my child. Has anyone seen Miri?
Okay, here they are watching a soccer game. And then in the middle of the field, a portal opens up of some kind. It looks like a nuke or a blast going off in the middle of this soccer stadium. And, you know, speaking of the Nolans, Dark Knight Rises also has an exploding stadium thing. Lasers say nothing sponsored is organic or grassroots. Yeah, speaking of fake grassroots, TPUSA is 100% AstroTurf. 100%. I haven't done all the deep dives into it yet, but some of what I've read suggests that many of the so-called thousands of chapters that opened up in the wake of Kirk have turned out to be ghosts. Like, literally just fake, exist on paper only. Kind of like the school shootings that weren't. If you remember that article from NPR, the school shootings that weren't, they found that school shootings were overreported because nobody fact-checked it. Well, TPUSA overstates itself. Hey, what's up, caller? Do you think Henry Novak is alive?
Hey, it's Plain Decoded.
Yeah, hey, what's up, Plain Decoded? What's your take on this Henry Novak thing? Is it a psyop? Is it real plus psyop? Or is it totally fake and turned into a psyop?
Well, I actually really don't know if it's real or fake. What I do know is that what's real is, and you know that's because of my complaints. You've heard me before, but fatigue. There's like a fatigue of those type of people, and being like there's just a general fatigue overall. And I think what they're doing is, real or not, they're leveraging it to create a scenario in which people are upset and like in the street, like, so it's an intentional destruction because they could have not had this happen, you know.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. You say fatigue of those people. What? Be specific.
Like, just like, so for me, in my experience, where I live, I grew up where I live in Canada, and for some reason, I'm millions and millions of Sikh people live around me now, and that's just the way it is. And it's kind of like weird because like it triggers me a bit because it's like a thing like I identify with, but I know it's like an off against me, and that I shouldn't be thinking like that, and it kind of puts. Are you
big into racial solidarity?
No, what do you say?
Like, are you into like racial? Do you think all the races should have their own ethno-states?
No. But I understand like how it can trigger like the local people. So basically, it's basically the locals. It's not about race. It's about local, and then people coming in. It doesn't really matter. Like, I wouldn't want a bunch of white people coming into where I live that aren't from here. Like, I wouldn't want a bunch of English people coming here. I wouldn't want a bunch of Russians or Ukrainians. I don't want any of them. But so what they do is, this scenario that you're talking about is that because they know that there's that energy that they could, whether it's real or fake, they can leverage it to create the outcome.
Well, okay, you say whether it's real or fake. Let me ask you, okay, because we're talking about woke rightism, and the woke right, they call it, like, they complain about immigrants, they'll complain about they'll call it black fatigue. So they're basically claiming that they are being oppressed by non-whites, and this is the mirror of the anti-racist left, who say they are oppressed by whites. Like, we're fatigued by whites. We're tired of whiteness. Let's get rid of whiteness. We should check your white privilege. So when I hear what you're saying, this is the dialectic. You're basically espousing the viewpoints of the woke right and their oppression narrative, which mirrors the woke left. And I don't think either of them is valid.
But in reality, so I didn't really want to talk about this topic, but I will. In reality, I just have a general fatigue, and it's like mind war. Like, I think it's an on purpose thing. So they're just trying to do that on purpose to create the tensions. Like, if everyone wasn't fatigued in any way, no one would care. But when everyone is fatigued already, then they can leverage it and then just point there. It's this fault. It's that
but do
fault.
People care? So look, I only see it on TV. I don't see any activism for BLM, WLM. I don't see racial grievances in my real life. I only ever see it on X, and it only comes from woke right politics. I don't see it in real life.
Yeah, I know you don't, but where do you live in Albuquerque?
I do.
Right? Yeah, so I don't know what it's like there, but where I live, it's something noticeable. Like, it's a real thing. Like, it just suddenly, I was where I was, and now suddenly there's a whole bunch of people here that are just not from here that are now here by by the millions. And
So
it's
so
not about the
what
race,
is it
it's
exactly?
about
Are you
the
a?
English people here
But what is
about
your demographic that it's threatened by Sikhs? If it's not about race, is it Christian? Is it?
it's about money. It's about money for me. For that. But the question was, do I think it's a psyop? I don't know if it's a psyop or not, but I know that it's being leveraged to create outrage, right?
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it's being leveraged to create outrage based along the lines that I described. That this is woke right ideology of oppression being given vent. They can now say, hey, look, we're oppressed. Whites are endangered. Whites are going extinct. We must have White Lives Matter solidarity.
But I think actually, wait, so I didn't even want to talk about this. I want to talk about Seattle. But for me personally, when you talk that way, you misrepresent it a little bit, in my opinion. But that's because the mainstream misrepresented it too.
No, I'm accurate. I said that the left is racist against whites. The anti-racists are actually racist against whites. There's no question about that. And I'm just saying that the woke right is racist against non-whites. Just like the left is misandrist. They hate men. The far right is misogynist. They hate women. This is just dialectics. This is just mind war. So like I'm not emotionally attached to it. If you are, it's likely because of, well, you're saying it's for your real life experiences. But have you experienced any direct oppression? Has anything like that happened in your life, or are you just responding to X and media?
And so, in my opinion, it's not about oppression; it's about exploitation. So these people are being exploited for their labor, right? So they're bringing in all these people to these countries for cheap labor, and then the corporations hire them all for cheap labor, like Amazon delivery. It's just like a big way to increase money, and at the same time, everyone who works has contributed to the system. Like, you add value to the system, then you feel crappy because you added value to the system. These people come in and they use the system, but they haven't added to the system, and they enrich the corporations. That's my experience.
That's your opinion. Okay, I don't know for sure. I mean, I really don't know. I don't trust any anti-immigrant propaganda lines because I've been told by truthers for years that the immigrants are military age, they're invading, they're going to take over. And I'm like, it just sounds like xenophobia to me.
Yeah, but that would be creating a straw man with.
Are you not scapegoating? Are you not scapegoating immigrants because you feel like they've taken your money, they've taken your jobs? That's kind of the talking point, isn't it?
No, that's the system that's been set up. Like, imagine you personally create a system, and then and it creates value to you in your life and people that you work with, and then all of a sudden they bring in other people that you have no choice in, and they take parts of the pie. Like, they use the system, and your energy is now given to them, and you worked for them to.
Okay, but this is the mirror. Do you get my point? That this is the mirror of the left saying, we would get ahead if it weren't for you white people, if you didn't have your privilege, if you weren't born into privilege.
But you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. So I never said anything about what. I don't want white people. I don't want any people that are even white to come here.
What I'm pointing out here, though, is that I'm pointing out that the oppression narrative is identical, and each side of the political spectrum is able to blame the other side for the corrosion of society, the degradation, the oppression, the loss of opportunity, the favoritism for the other side. And both sides are making the same identical claims. So I'm just questioning who's more oppressed, BLM or WLM? Are whites more oppressed than blacks? Are blacks more oppressed by whites? Are blacks and immigrants oppressing whites? Or are whites oppressing and exploiting them?
They should be united. Okay, I want to switch topics, but they should be united, and no one should be exploited. That's the bottom line. No one should be exploited, and everyone should be united, but no one should be exploited. But I want to switch over to Seattle.
Okay, one more question here. Busy says, were your ancestors always here, or did they immigrate at some point? So are you an indigenous Canadian? Were your ancestors indigenous to Canada, or did they migrate or immigrate?
What is Canada? What is Canada?
Or wherever you're at. Like what this person is asking in the chat. He's asking if you come from a group of colonizers or not.
No, because Canada is made from people that. Canada is a system, right? It's not the land. The people that were indigenous to the land also contributed to the system. So they're also a Canadian. And my kids are actually indigenous. I am not, but my kids are indigenous blood.
Right.
So
Okay.
I know that their future is being it's being diluted.
Well, anyway, yeah, we can
all
change.
about-
We can talk about Seattle. I'm just saying that I don't hold any sort of any of these movements as having any credibility. I kind of think that they're all just rigged in order to it's called demagoguery, where you target the grievances and you grievance monger and you scapegoat. And I just see that the woke right hitting their knees right now are doing the exact same thing they criticized BLM for in the past. This collective rage, collective justice. And I don't think it's a move in the right direction, but it just shows that they're part of the same structure. And I don't get triggered because of something that happened 8 months ago, and I've been told by right-wing influencers to suddenly get triggered. So, like, this story doesn't affect me like that, but I'm also pointing out that I think the whole thing's a psyop, whether or not the guy died.
Oh yeah, I agree. I come to the same conclusion anyway, right? It's likely a psyop if it's real or not, because they just use it. They just released the thing now, right? So they're just using it. They didn't have to release it.
The timing of it with the Austin Metcalf thing, which was, I think, provably fake, the timing of it with that. And so if you don't know about the Austin Metcalf thing, I went to go see a movie called Sinners, knowing it would precede a bunch of race war stuff. And in Sinners, you have Michael B. Jordan plays his own twin. And so one twin dies from a stab wound to the heart, bleeding in the arms of the other twin. And then Austin Metcalf gets stabbed by Anthony Carmelo. He dies bleeding in the arms of his twin. And I was like, that's interesting. And then you have Jake Lang, who's been in the news recently defending Chud the Builder, another race war thing, trying to turn Austin Metcalf into the Trayvon Martin for White Lives Matter. He was trying to instigate that a long time ago. So the fact that that particular trial, which then had the GoFundMe for the character that went really high, then you had the racist girl in the playground, also GoFunding to the millions. This was all just sublimated race war all last year. And so for that event to coincide with this Henry Novak thing makes the Novak thing seem like a very opportunistic time for it to have come out. Fake or not.
Oh, for sure.
But anyway,
For sure.
we can get on to Seattle if you care to. I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight.
Okay, actually, I wanted to get a clarification. Did you determine Chud to be real or fake?
I haven't seen the video yet. I think it's too perfect.
Oh.
The narrative is so perfect. And there are people bringing it up now. They're saying, oh no, Chud's being oppressed because he used the N-word. No, Chud shot somebody 5 times. And it's questionable in terms of, was this legitimate self-defense or was it self-offense? Did he provoke it? That's what it comes down to. And in his previous tweets, he had said that the final scene would be a dead blank on the ground and he walking away. And then riots would start. So he was trying to trigger a race war. That to me says agitator, provocateur, fake. The guy he shot 5 times, I don't know. I saw the video. It didn't reveal enough to me. So I'm going to wait until I see the CCTV footage until I decide. But I don't know. That was either something dumb waiting to happen or engineered. It's hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that too. Okay, so for 6/11, did you figure how you're just going to stay up the whole time?
Yeah, I'm just going to show up shortly before midnight. I'll be near the Space Needle, and I'm going to lurk for 24 hours.
I was looking at I got this camera, and it's a body camera, and it's really inexpensive. It was $70, and it will record your whole time. You just have to get a 120 gig SD thing. It's not that expensive. It comes with a 63 gig, and it records really well. That way you can just like pin it onto your pants or something and then record absolutely everything the whole time.
What's it called?
Hold on, I'll give you the name.
I'll look it up, and I'll get it on Amazon.
Yeah, I got it on Amazon for 70 Canadian, so it's going to be even cheaper for you. It's called the ACBETA, ACBAETA, multifunctional DV body camera.
Okay, I'll get one of those because my intention here is just to be a reporter on the ground. I'm not trying to warn people to get out of town. I'm going there to cover the event. I'll do some live art. I'll do some paintings of the Space Needle, which will help me, pay for the gas for the ride home. But yeah, I'm just going to stay up for the full 24 hours, although I actually expect it to occur in the early morning hours when the stage is more controllable and it has this nice resonance with Sleepless in Seattle. I kind of imagine that being the opportune time for it. But because in the middle of the day, it just seems like it'd be impossible, although, and I'll see when I'm there, it seems like they've put a lot of space between the stadium and any foot traffic, anybody. Like, it's just like a mile, it's just clear. So if you're walking, they're going to see you. You can't bring any cars. So it seems like there's like a closed set, not to mention the drone coverage. So I'm going to have to check for myself.
Yeah, and so the times I was thinking, so they wouldn't be so crazy as to do 8:46 a.m. again. I don't think so. So I was thinking 8:46 p.m. or 6:48 a.m. or 6:48 p.m. 9:11 a.m. That seems like too much. They wouldn't do that. 11:06 a.m. maybe. 11:09 p.m.
I'm thinking like
11:09 a.m.
I'm thinking like 1:28 a.m. or 3:30 in the morning. I think it'd be very early, so everyone loses a night of sleep. I think that's the whole point.
1:28 a.m. and 3:30 would make sense. Yeah.
Because then everyone's tired, they're more susceptible, they're scared. iBreak says, what's going to happen in Seattle? Well, okay, using predictive programming as a basis, if you had known what that meant in the 90s, leading up to 2000, 2001, you might have had an ability to guess, hey, they're going to take down the Twin Towers on a 9/11. Well, there's more of a buildup for a Seattle destruction than there was for 9/11. And the best predictions that we have are pointing toward a destruction date of 6/11, maybe 11/6, 11/3. But anyway, 6/11 seems to be a highly significant date. And the way things are coming out right now, it seems perfect, especially with everyone's attention on the games. So basically, Seattle's going to be destroyed on the 11th, to answer the commenter.
Or the Space Needle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping the Space Needle would... Yeah, well, the Space Needle would be like the iconic, symbolic, ritualistic element to it. And it does tie in the UFO. Because I said the UFO and the nuke go together. The Space Needle is literally a UFO and a tractor beam. So I think that's the part of the spectacle that's meant to really shock people. Because now the skyline changes. It brings back 9/11. So I think that Space Needle would have to go to be a part of it. You know, one thing I've noticed is that most conspiracy theorists talk about things like this, and they say doom, gloom, emergency, fight or flight. They get really emotional and scared and enter survival mode. And we talk about these things in casual conversation. Like, oh, they might destroy the city. And I think that's to our advantage because we have a different culture than they do in Trutherville, where we're actually objectively examining the evidence and making rational claims. We're not jumping to conclusions and we're not panicked that the sky is falling. But in this case, I think there's a good case to be made that they're going to do some kind of dramatic thing in Seattle. Fake, I have to add, fake.
Yeah, and also, it could just be a nothing burger too. I don't know. Like, I'm actually kind of wanting a nothing burger.
Well, either way, it's good for us because if it's a nothing burger, it means that I've just had a great opportunity to explain the metascript concept to anybody looking at this event. And that is going to be aided by the videos I'm putting out, but my explanation on the day. So I can make the case and explain, how our history is manufactured and major events are foreshadowed and why they do it. If something happens, well, then we're ground zero and we are establishing the existence of the off-world stage in full view of a big audience, and we can do irreversible damage to the gatekeepers. So that's a great opportunity to exponentially grow the IPS think tank and what we're doing here. So it's a great opportunity whether something happens or it doesn't. Worst case scenario, something happens and it's real, they do a different tactic. Maybe they decide we need to get hit for real once just to put the fear back into us, in which case I don't have to buy a ticket or rent a car to get back home because I'll have been vaporized.
Yeah, and you don't have the overheating phone anymore, do you? You have a regular one that can stream?
I do have the overheating phone, but I have a backup phone and I have a laptop. So I think I have it covered. And I'm going to get a couple more chargers, but I think I have it covered here. So my idea here is I'll be live streaming the entire time, doing a lot of art, talking to chat, and I'll probably do 3 hours on. I'll still record when I'm off, and then I'll charge up and I'll do it again. So we'll maintain constant coverage over the night. And if there is some kind of an EMP, I don't know.
The little body cam I'm talking about, mine came with one that runs for 12 hours, and it wasn't expensive.
Okay.
And, yeah, if you just look that up, listen back to the stream, or I can post it in Discord.
Okay, that would be better. That would be ideal. Because if it's less than $100 and it gives me 12 hours coverage, that means I can record during all of the dark side, the night side of when it's likely going to happen. So I'll be recording from 11:59 p.m. until sun comes up, and if anything happens, I will definitely get coverage of the thing. Unless they seize it.
You don't think it would happen midday?
I don't think it's feasible. I don't know. It depends. I mean, it depends on a lot of factors, but I don't see it as all that feasible. Because the whole thing is about coverage. And after 9/11, they grabbed a lot of cameras from people who weren't supposed to be there. The only witnesses that you heard from were those who were planted there. So I'm not a planted witness. So presuming that they do a PSYOP, I have to ensure that whatever I record gets out. I don't know if they can really do an EMP and shut off my equipment. I don't know if that actually is a thing. But I do want the backup of a video. So I'm going to go ahead and make an effort to get a body cam.
Yeah, I'll post it in Discord.
Yeah, please do. Excellent suggestion. Thanks for bringing that up, because that was one of my concerns was, am I going to miss it? Am I going to be out of batteries and something happens? So I don't want to miss a thing. And I can, take the raw footage and then work with that later. But yeah, that would be great. That would.
You're gonna be there a day before, right?
Yes.
And then the day after, you'd have to be, right?
Yeah, I'm going to stay for the full 24 hours. And then depending on what happens, I'll determine whether or not I'm going to remain in place or just meander back to here. But, best case scenario, they do a big PSYOP, a big dumb spectacle, and I can be there to be the contrarian voice. And if that's the case, I will likely be remaining there because you know that there'll be others there as well. And so we will want to be there on the ground to disrupt.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you have a great time. Seattle is actually a great place. It's a really fun place. They have great. I don't know if you drink coffee, but their coffee, you can find awesome coffee there. It's actually a cool place. So enjoy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll take that up. So thanks again. All right. So I'm going to get a body cam. A body cam. I'll get it on Amazon. Today's the 5th, so I will have to order it in the next couple of days. But that makes perfect sense. I get off the plane, I go in the vicinity of the Space Needle, and I just begin recording passively while live streaming. I have 2 different devices now. So if I'm not using the secondary device as a camera like I anticipated, I should be able to basically live stream on one, switch to the other while this one charges. I'll go back and forth. So like I said, I'm going to have to remain, awake for the entire time. I mean, technically I could fall asleep, presuming it would wake me up when it happens, as long as I'm in the area. Space Chimp says, countdown to Elvis Day. Yeah, again, I don't know what is up with the Elvis thing. Trump saying he's bigger than Elvis. If you're familiar with Jurassic Liars, who's the one who really put 6/11 on the calendar as a truther holiday, never gets enough credit for it. His belief here is that Elvis is the idol that the masses have been given to worship as the image of the beast of the sea, beast of Revelation, but that Trump is the actual human performing those actions on the world stage. These two are part of his explanation for what's happening, which he may be right in some subtext or symbolic way. They always attach these things. Like I said, 9/11 connects Trump to Apollyon, Abaddon, the destroyer. It connects him, I mean, that's Revelation 9/11. And then you could also look at Revelation 13 and attach it to Butler and the miraculous survival of a head wound witnessed by the entire world. Okay, so we talked about Tomorrow War. The soccer field gets invaded by aliens, and it looks like, so you got nukes and aliens built into the same scene here, or some explosion in this. Breaking: NASA orders astronauts to shelter in place and prepare for evacuation. So they're reminding us the space station exists for some reason. Unmitigated minds to stay out of the sun so your batteries don't overheat. Always remember to auto hoax in the shade. I was having a lot of overheating even in the winter when the sun was directly on it, so you have a point there. Again, a psychic predicts alien invasion during the World Cup. I don't know why that's being promoted, but okay, let's get back to this. As T2 was being advertised for its 35th anniversary showing in big theaters, I said, watch, the nuke's going to be a subject now. A gas explosion in Puebla State sends a fireball into the sky, 2,000 evacuated. So here's another mushroom cloud to add to the collection. 4 LP gas tanks sent this fireball into the sky. Authorities are investigating if the tanks and the tankers nearby were related to gas theft. 2,000 people evacuated. This is in Mexico. So everyone's getting a mushroom cloud. Kevin Morgan says, don't forget all the tie-ins to Final Destination. Yeah, Final Destination is big as far as predictive programming goes. There's so much there. In fact, in the Space Needle opening scene, it's about the elevator opening up. And the real Space Needle had an elevator opening at the same time. Both the fictional one and the real one had the cracks in the floor. But the fictional one had a pool at the bottom. And it had this big crab thing coming out, which is like this kraken thing. When you're in Seattle, go to Dick's Drive-In by Climate Pledge area or in Fremont, says Jordan. Yeah, I plan to wander around as long as I'm within view of the needle. And like I said, I'm not wearing a sign that says the end is near. I'm not warning anybody. That's not why I'm there.
What I was hearing.
I'm an alien anthropologist. I'm only here to observe and document. Fireball gas tanker hauling stolen fuel explodes into a fireball. Now, Lickety Split had commented on this one. Very good eye here. He says, is that the face of the lead singer of System of a Down in the fireball? He's definitely a Fed. And if you look at that fireball from the exploding tankers, it looks like the singer of System of a Down. I've actually seen them a couple of times. I think they had a music video where he's like wailing about the chemtrails. Like, it's pretty interesting. I'll have to go back and look. The Space Needle, I think it's 605 feet tall. The dimensions are... Okay, now I know it's a 42-second elevator ride. It's 42 meters across. Let me ask Perplexity. What are the dimensions of the Seattle Space Needle? What are the dimensions of the Seattle Space Needle? And who built it? It was built by the Pentagon Corporation, which sounds very... Pentagram Corporation, which is very Pentagony. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today. Thanks for all the comments. Lasers say it's 666 feet. Well, we have to account for how deep does it go. Maybe it's 600 and... 66 feet, but perhaps part of it's beneath the surface. I heard the same about the Washington Monument obelisk. I think it's 555. I've been told it's 111 below. Speaking of, adjacent to or in view of that obelisk, you have that reflecting pool near the White House, and Trump had the bottom of it painted blue. And he's showing off this thing because it's 2,023 feet long and showing how it's bigger than this One World Trade Tower. Like, what does that even mean? I don't know. So it's 605 feet tall. It was designed in 1962 for the World's Fair with architect John Graham Jr. shaping the flying saucer look. And if you care for gematria and numerology, apparently it's pronounced gematria, not with the J, but gematria. I watched a video this morning on it, on how to spot a gematria sports betting scammer. But anyway, UFO is 42. It's 42 meters wide, and I read that it's a 42-second elevator ride to the top. What's up, Paradoxy Moronics? Thanks for joining. So how many do we have here? Putting all these explosions together, it's really adding up. All right, let's move on. So we're talking about the soccer game, War of the Worlds. Psychics saying that aliens are going to land during War of the Worlds. That shouldn't have any credibility, but that's just where we are. I mean, psychics, necromancers, spirit mediums, alien channelers. Like, we've gone backward in a lot of ways. I'm still trying to figure out if this robot kicking kids in China is real or not. Like, I'm trying, but I cannot tell. Like, we can no longer rely on our eyes to tell us what is real and fake. You have to accept it. We can no longer tell. Jason Colavito posted on Twitter, I'm surprised that the UFOs are demons hypothesis didn't take hold until the 90s, when Pat Robertson and Hal Lindsey endorsed it. It actually goes back to the 50s. Since the publication of The Late Great Planet Earth, I've become thoroughly convinced that UFOs are real. This is from an evangelical. They're not all swamp gas, they're not all hallucinations or weather balloons. These are real spacecraft operated by alien beings of great intelligence and power, but what I differ from most ufologists is in the question of origin. I believe they're not only extraterrestrial, but supernatural. But to be blunt, I think they are demons. This is being recycled today. Jason Giorgiani says, as a philosopher who studied religion for decades, as I've studied parapsychology and ufology, to the point where I taught comparative religion, there are a few problems with this. The angels and demons discourse. Oh, okay. I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's quite a lot of people here opining about it who are... Carl Sagan, though, he called this out many decades ago. I was kind of surprised to see that, but describing how it's fulfilling a religious need. And I didn't really know that aliens used to be showing themselves up more like Greek gods with robes and beards, a little more biblical. So there's this creep, I don't know what it is, this individual who drives around this area. And he often, and I see him, because I'll sit in my truck a lot of times, just read. And I always watch the mirrors. I got like this 360 view, and I see this person always driving by and just staring. Like, it's like something out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Anyway, he drove by really slow and creepy, and knowing the vehicle, I peeked up, and yeah, he was actually looking directly. Don't know what it means. Just another spy. a not very subtle spy. Maybe he's a Scientologist. I don't know. Scientology stalkers want you to know you're being watched, in my experience. I don't know what I did to tick this person off. All right, moving on. Tom Cruise to honor David Beckham with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Football superstar David Beckham is set to be honored with a star on the Walk of Fame. Organizers announced as the United States prepares to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup, Cruise and the pop player's star-turned-fashion designer wife, Victoria Beckham, will be at a ceremony on June 12th to unveil the plaque immortalizing the British midfielder on Hollywood's most famous thoroughfare. We're just bringing this up because Tom Cruise is already associated with War of the Worlds. And here we have, this age of disclosure coming out on 6/12. And so he's in the news right then. And they're having this big event, some kind of unveiling. So I'll keep an eye on that. All right, let's see here. Amran Ross says, maybe you being an alien anthropologist, the drive-by stalker wants to fist your bump. Yeah. That's disturbing. Could, though. He could want to. Got to protect my bump. Whatever that means. I mean, if you don't know, the movie, it's basically... No, it's not serious. You think it's a serious movie because it's about saving the world because the sun's burning out. But they managed to turn it into a rom-com between a human and this big spider thing. And it's very subtle. But look, I'm not the only one who's noticed this. There have been a number of Reddit threads where people are creating a lot of Rocky, Ryan Gosling, Project Hail Mary smut. Like, they're writing like 50 Shades of Rocky. It's like really bizarre. I'm not reading any of it. All right, we talked about how Jesse on Fire is a plant and a shill and a misinformationist presenting really dumb ideas to make very smart ideas look ridiculous. No different than the fittest flat earther who does the same thing. The fittest flat earther is there to discredit legitimate observations. This is another one. Flozik says, oh, I see. Moxie Sen says, yeah, the real fight is the fact that we're 7% of the global minority. When you say we, what are you referring to? You got to watch out for white identitarians because they'll come in the room, they'll be the most vocal, and they'll say we, us, them, but it's we. And it's like, well, who are you actually speaking for? It's like they assume that every room they go into is homogenous. Like, oh, everybody in this room is wearing a white sheet on the head. We're all unified. We're all reading the Turner Diaries, and we all have our White Lives Matter flags, and we're all being oppressed. And we're listening to IPS now, but we're going to Nick Fuentes right after. So when you say we are 7%, what do you mean? Are you saying you're a representative of an oppressed minority? Is that what you're saying? Because these oppression narratives are built into the system. It's world stage politics. So if you feel oppressed, it's because you've been told that you're oppressed. But you're also believed to be an oppressor by the other side. The side that you find to be your oppressor thinks that you are oppressing them. I mean, but if you're over here, European, but be specific. So you're a minority against a majority. Like, if you're claiming that, like, white genocide is real and stuff, I wonder, what are you doing here? Go have some white babies. Get off the internet. Go touch grass. Start your farm or whatever you're going to do. Like, if you really feel like you have to defend your homeland against encroaching globalism and you need to put up your borders and your guns and start your trad wife life and stuff, go do it. You can't just sit around looks-maxing all day. Like, when are the America First people going to actually put America first. It's always like, no, me first. My cheekbones first. My nostrils first. My mogging first, or whatever they do. It's like they went from traditional lives to looks maxing, which is just the epitome of selfishness, and I guess you maybe even say narcissism. I hate that word; it's overused. But anyway, if you're over here advocating for your gene pool and your race and stuff, okay, look, Moxie says, I just lost my job because some black man pulled out the race card and had me fired because he said I was saying the N-bomb when I wasn't. Yeah, look, race warriors need to go somewhere else. Let's go ahead and time out Mr. Race Warrior. And while you're on timeout and not commenting here, think about other ways you might be more effective in your struggle. Like going to where other people who share your fears are gathering. Go find a burning cross, put on your sheets, but you're not going to like find any traction here. I don't take race war people seriously. I don't take anti-racism people. Woke left, woke right are not allowed here. Weaving, woke right, woke left, spiders come not here. We don't have time for it, and it's not serving your interests. Like if your main interest in life is fighting your oppressors, go fight your oppressors. That has nothing to do with fake news. In fact, if you become aware of how fake news is and fake history, you will lose all of the basis that you need to maintain your rage against your oppressor. You're going to say, well, yeah, see, Busy, he tried to lump us all into we. That's what I mean. They come into a room, they don't know who's here, and they're like, oh, we need to stand up against the black people who are going to race bait us or whatever he's saying. Like, okay, so you got oppressed by a black person who took your job. Yeah, I believe you. Like, do we really think that any of these woke rightsters actually have jobs? Unmitigated Mind says, what about the people who accidentally do that? Not the looks maxing the farm. Oh yeah, look, there are a lot of people who choose to live independent, who go rural, self-sufficiency. That's like an ideal. But it's not like a race thing. But there is this idealism of this. That's what MAGA is based on. MAGA appeals to this ideal of before feminism, before globalism, before civil rights, the world was better. Everything was peaceful, everything was perfect, and then look what happened. And you'll see these woke rightsters often posting nostalgia. And nostalgia is what America first is about. And the Turner Diaries. Turning Point USA. What is the turning point? The turning point refers to we've gone too far progressive, let's turn back. MAGA, let's go back. So progressive's going to go forward. The other side wants to go regressive. And this is just built into the system, into the world stage. But the idea of going off grid is put in a different context when the woke rightsters talk about it. Like, oh, we got to get away from the corruption of Hollywood, mainstream society, get out of the urban areas, get away from public schools. So it's basically quarantining from progressivism. They certainly don't own it, and they only talk about it because it's an ideal that none of them live up to. Like, how many of these people talking about their ideal lives, their trad wives, the idea that you should have a bunch of kids with a trad Christian wife and not go to public schools, homeschool, avoid Hollywood. You know, you hear this idealized and talked about, but none of them actually do it. Instead of doing it, they're tapping their chins with hammers to increase their sexual market value, even though they simultaneously abhor and hate women. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense unless it's a controlled op. That's why I kind of don't have any patience or time for woke right issues. Because the woke right movement is not serious. You're as unserious as Antifa. You're a bunch of reactive puppets who've been triggered and rage baited into being useful stooges for the more mainstream part of your party. And it is political. It's all just politics. And I'm apolitical. World stage politics, mainstream media advocacy, and wokesterism, right and left, have no place in the off-world stage. Like, you should be kneeling. You know, if you're worried about immigrants and stuff and race, shouldn't you be kneeling for Henry? Shouldn't you be marching? Like, what are you doing at home? Go fight your war. Because I'm an inactivist. I believe that activism is all rigged. It's all built upon the world stage version of events. It doesn't take into account media fakery whatsoever. Laser say, hitting yourself in the face with a hammer is so 2026. Yeah, look, I just think the whole thing is absurd. It's absurd. I mean, I don't have any personal issues with clavicular. But now, here is Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes actually kind of stood up here and he said, because clavicular is getting his nose job today, or he had his nose job live streamed. And now he's like skinny and in a wheelchair, and his face is bandaged up. Anyway, Nick Fuentes says, too much looks maxing denies our mortality and human frailty. If you become preoccupied with modifying your appearance, you're denying what happens. We have to love ourselves and each other for who we are. Now, he's quoting the Pope. He's quoting the Pope. We have to love ourselves and each other for who we are. He didn't add, except for the immigrants, except for the women, except for the blacks, except for the Jews. He didn't add that. So when someone like Nick Fuentes adopts Christian rhetoric and talks about universal love, that's not really what they mean. These people are hateful, divisive demagogues. And it's really just disingenuous for them to even appropriate that kind of talk. Moxie says, I'm not woke. I'm not a looks maxer. Neither am I. But I just noticed your comment. Like, look, anytime somebody speaks of we against them, you're framing it as in we got to stand up against the oppressors. And if you think that we're all part of your we, you might be, jumping the gun a little bit. Like, maybe we're not on your team in this regard.
Come on!
I mean, I can tell you unequivocally that I'm not on either team. I'm not WLM, BLM. I'm not even NLM, the No Lives Matter. Like, like I said, I'm an alien anthropologist. And I'm saying that it doesn't serve your interests to mix in with people who don't believe any things you believe in. Like, if you believe that people died on 9/11 because Group A killed them or Group B killed them, we're not on the same team. Because mainstream Republicans are anti-Islam. Woke right Republicans are anti-Israel. So it's like, well, choose which group you hate and then base your worldview on that. But I don't suffer from any of those delusions or paranoias. And so if you do, this is not the place. You can find groypers. You can find all kinds of subgroups and cults on the internet to validate your fears. This isn't the place. And they say we. I'm sorry, but like, who do you speak for? When I say we, I'm really just referring to me. And maybe, I don't know, I could say in vague general terms, things that we as a think tank kind of agree with, but I'm not really a collectivist, and I'm certainly not a racial collectivist. I had some idiot, his name was Jake Ellen in chat. I see him on Fakeologist too. It took me 5 seconds to identify him as a woke rightster. And he was on various chats calling me a paid agent of the Mossad. He said, this guy is a Jew being paid to promote 6/11. I'm like, who's paying me? Who's paying me to promote June 11th as a hypothetical PSYOP date? Israel? The Mossad? Like, where's the money? Is Jurassic Liars paying me? Yeah, because there's a lot of money in promoting super fringe topics that nobody understands or cares about. Ollie Bongo Magic Trick says division maxers. A Newful says, I'm a looks maxer through nutrition and working out. Well, these guys, part of this looks maxer thing, Their aesthetic standards are not universal nor accepted, nor are they a guarantee of success in life, or are they even recognized anywhere. It's kind of a hoax. And especially now with AI, looks hardly matter. You just get a filter. I've seen this. I saw this. She must have been like a great grandmother. You know, this mature woman who was using. She was filter maxing, and she was grifting so much money out of so many guys on her fake OnlyFans. Sort of like there's a number of individuals who are creating these MAGA women out of AI and getting MAGA men to send them Bitcoin. And Newful says, yes, that's true. The IPS is self-funded. If it wasn't self-funded, it wouldn't be able to exist. And it wouldn't be scalable as it is now. And we're at that point now where it is that dangerous from the system's point of view. Because our ideas are coherent, tested, validated. Our model accurately reflects what we observe and has more predictability than what everyone else thinks, which is everything is random and chaotic. No, it's actually pre-planned and fabricated. We can prove it. And it's backed up by evidence and research that we're compiling every day. And it's coherent enough to where anyone could figure this out now. It's just a matter of scaling it up. But it's not like you go off-world stage and then go back. But yeah, look, I mock these individuals a little bit, but honestly, everybody looks maxes or health max. Everybody tries to improve what they can. It's not like these individuals own it. And then, in fact, they're very bad examples of it. The hammer in the face, the cosmetics, the drugs. The guy was taking methamphetamines to make his cheekbones more prominent or something. It's very delusional and sick. And the only reason I would commented on it at all is simply that this was platformed by the incel movement. And the incel movement and the groypers are basically there to foster resentment against women. It's actually very misogynistic. It's more misogynistic than about looks maxing. If you get into their actual belief systems, I mean, it's really painfully obvious. It's also an interesting study in how people with very bland personalities can become superstars if they're effectively promoted with clips. These people are clip famous. There's nothing organic about it. Yeah, I can put the Discord on the screen. It's just that Discord is super resource intensive. But yeah, in fact, some of the images I posted today were from Discord, like this one here. So if anyone posts anything from Discord that I think needs to be brought up, like this alien on the NBA game, the invasion story, what I do is I screen cap it and I put it up on my notes. Clavicular shares photos after undergoing rhinoplastic surgery. I mean, he put himself out there to be a target, and now people are ridiculing his legs, that he's not legs maxing. But why should you? I mean, like you only see him from the waist up when he's live streaming. You see the face. Yeah, the meth for the cheekbones, pretty bad. Apparently he was eating it. He now owns a nightclub in Miami, and he's famous for some unknown reason. I mean, I think the real thing, actually the reason's well known. He just paid for it. It also makes me wonder about just how people want the slop. People want AI slop. They want live streaming slop. I'm talking about the masses. Yeah, Ali Bongo, he's doing that next. I won't even repeat that. Space Chimp says, where has Jurassic been? I haven't been checking his channel. Maybe he's on the way to Seattle. Hitchhiking. I was suggesting that we could carpool to the apocalypse. All right, so if you go to his channel, it's Jurassic Liars Elvis Seattle 611. His latest video was 3 days ago, 6 days ago, 2 weeks. So he's still around. I haven't taken his calls. So Moxie, who claims he wasn't fighting a race war, says, why are they allowed to be brown and proud black and proud, but the second white man says white pride, we're the enemy or we're the problem? I'm not MAGA. Trump is a J ass kisser. So you say J ass kisser, that means that you're not a mainstream Republican. You're not a mainstream Republican because their view is, of course, they're pro-Israel. So you think Trump is too pro-Israel, which makes you woke right. And that's typical. Nick Fuentes has been anti-Trump from the beginning. He says, oh, Israel controls him. That's why they had to kill Charlie Kirk. But here you are with your racially grievance mongering. Like, oh, because I'm white, I can't be proud. To me, that sounds like victim consciousness. And I'm wondering again, how did you find yourself here, Moxie Sen 5656? I was going to block you. I put you on timeout. But I'm curious to figure out, how did you get here? Before I block you, how did you get here? As in, how did you find yourself in the only think tank on the internet specifically organized around the premise that our worldview is being constructed through a collusion of government, entertainment, and media? Like, how did you get here from grievance mongering, from a white genocide perspective, Nick Fuentes territory, groiperism, to the complete antithesis of that? Like, did you get paid? Did somebody pay you to come here and spam my chat with your grievance mongering, with your we have to stand up against the non-whites? Like, where did you get the link? Busy says, is Mox an agent? Well, that's what I'm saying. Where did he get the link? If he's not an agent, he's doing a very good impression of one. Even after I called him out and he denied it, he comes back with straight up racial grievance mongering and anti-Semitic comments. Now, the reason why he's anti-Semitic is because he believes all of the conspiracy theories and all the fake news. If he knew about the fake news, including the fact that all the conspiracy theories are fake, subplots of fake news, he wouldn't have those positions. So he's in the wrong place, but I wonder why. It's very bizarre. It would be like an atheist hanging out on a Jehovah's Witness forum, just trying to blend in, like, oh, we got to do something about religion. It's like, well, where do you think you are? Like, you're in the complete opposite of where you should be. It makes no sense. So if you could explain, caller, or yeah, better yet, call in. If you can explain, the name is Moxie Sen 5656. I'll have to remember that. Okay, what I'm going to do here, because he's not commenting, I'm just going to block him. But he can call in if he wants to. And he can have his woke right talking points ready. Block user. No, I find it really peculiar. How do these people find their way to the IPS think tank? Are they being paid? And I've noticed an uptick. In this because on X I've been called Mossad a number of times this week. Like, look, I've got no connection whatsoever to Israel, or I've never even met a rabbi. Like, it's just like, it's not my culture, not my people. I've never been there geographically. I know nothing about it. I don't believe any of the stereotypes, but the idea that I'm accused of being such is just, to me, it's just indicating that you're in a cult. Like, if you're a Scientologist, everyone else is an SP. If you're a Christian, everyone else is a sinner. If you're a woke right agitator, everyone else is a J. Anyway, phones are open, 866-HOAX. Again, 888-866-HOAX. If you're a racial grievance monger and you're lost and you need some direction, feel free to call in. We flush these people out of our servers quick. It doesn't take long. They reveal themselves. They can't help it. It's like that old joke, how do you know if someone's in CrossFit? Or how do you know if somebody is a vegan? They'll tell you. How do you know if somebody's a woke right, groiper, grievance monger, incel? Oh, they'll tell you. It's pathetic. Oh, here's a great use for AI. Do you know Mariana Bachmeier, this story? So this was a woman who walked into a courtroom in a trench coat, and she dumps a magazine into her daughter's killer. Very righteous act. And thankfully nobody interrupted her until it was done. So then I went to AI and I added a happy ending here. Check this out.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen.
A round of applause for the lady.
Oh.
So if you want to know how I'm doing this, I mean, I've been getting back into, you take a screen cap from a video and you just write an alternate ending and blend it. Fireball meteors reported in the past week. June 1st, May 27th, May 30th, May 30th, May 30th. And this is in Texas, New Mexico, East Coast, Toronto, Buffalo, Toledo. So we got fireballs, sonic booms, mushroom clouds, exploding fireworks factories, exploding gas tanks, Bezos' rocket, the New Glenn, spectacular mushroom cloud explosion. All of this in the wake of T2. Space Chimp says, do you think Ghost Politics is going to cover 6/11 again this year? If he covered it last year, he will. I mean, that's my presumption. It's not just Jurassic liars. There are so many people in the know about 6/11. Even if they don't give full credit or they don't have the full story, there are a ton of people who are always looking at and covering 6/11 every year. So I'm going to be the person on the ground. So I have this device here specifically for calls. So I'll be live on my phone, recording on my body cam, and I'll be taking phone calls about 6/11. And if I've seen Ghost Politics. He kind of sounds like Alex Jones, like it's an alter ego. But basically he is going to be talking about it, and I'd hope to get called. Because I want to consolidate. You know, anybody who's talking about it should be referencing my stream, and they should send people to Infinite Plane Society's IPS DEPROGRAM. IPS.monster will have some explainer videos at the top to explain where we're coming from and why I'm there. I have about 4 days to finish up all my videos for the subject. I have to acquire a body cam. And look, if I'm going to stay up the full 24 hours, I may not even need a hotel room. Spaceship says everyone says he's Alex Jones. I don't know if Alex Jones has the time or the sobriety to do a secondary gig. It could just be he has mannerisms that are similar. It could be Bill Hicks. I don't know. Violet Pengon says Terminator 84 is 42 years old. Yeah, there's a lot of... Okay, so 42 correlates with Saturn. The number is consistently associated symbolically. And of course, you know, the Saturn sun thing, the black, the white, the duality, the black absorbs the light versus dark. It's built into the Terminator story. In fact, the sun sets on what they call the Terminator, which is the division between night and day, black and white. And in the Egyptian myth, the sun god is dismembered at sunset. So you have JC, John Connor, another JC, as mankind's savior. The antagonist, the Terminator. So you have the sun god savior, antagonist, the Terminator, which again symbolizes the darkness. And the symbolism of the Terminator, he's got the skull face, the death visage, the glowing red eye. Very consistent. Ibreak says, how would you feel if you didn't eat breakfast today? I don't know the context. But as I was saying, I'm flying out to Seattle. I'm going to be recording the whole night. I'm going to stay in the area. I don't expect any... I honestly, look, the most likely thing is nothing. If something happens, the only question is the performance of it, the spectacle. How is it going to be done? How do they clear the sets? That's why I suggest it's going to be an early morning event, but we'll see. But hopefully we can get the numbers that I'm aiming for. Because I happen to think that the live stream on 6/11 for this event will pick up a lot of random viewers because of all the activity there. But I think if we get word out to enough people talking about 6/11, we could easily pull up more than a couple of hundred live viewers like we normally get. I mean, we did see one 11/3/2019 Seattle observation go up to 3,000 live viewers. So this will be good for the channel regardless of what happens. So this is to establish a few things. The purpose of the IPS Press Club, why we have to be on the ground. It'll be educational, and hopefully it'll be good for the channel. And hopefully Seattle does get psyoped, and we do get to move forward. Look, another bit of propaganda. Throughout the world, McDonald's has the Chickaboom, which is a bomb, things blowing up in all of their ads. People blowing up. Looks like brains and guts. This is McDonald's, by the way. See all that baby meat just flying everywhere? Honestly, what's so disturbing about this to me is that this is a food commercial. And why would you want to associate your food with what looks like projectile vomit? It's not a good look. Not for a brand that already has a reputation for serving human meat among some. But this, and then of course The Economist, which always predicts the future, has a soccer ball Earth getting kicked. So we're thinking 6/11 is going to be the kickoff date for World War III. But these are really bad ads, aren't they? Let me see if I can find you the Economist cover. Because the Economist cover would be an indicator. There's a really good Economist cover that predicted the COVID thing. Economist who predicted the past 3 World Cups. No, that's not what we're looking for. Okay, I found it. It's one of those you have to decipher. It has all kinds of elements built into it. The world ahead in 2026. So what are we looking at? This one's a mess. But you see at the bottom right, it's the soccer player kicking the world. I see what looks like a satellite on the bottom, syringes next to rockets, tanks, there's Trump, crossed swords, raised. Okay, now this is interesting. So when did this come out? Look at this. I'm focusing in on a handcuffed wrist with a balloon next to it, which kind of looks like blood, like a blood spot. You see what I'm looking at? Now, let's compare this to the image of Henry Novak's hand, which has been turned into a propaganda symbol. And see, I put the stigmata on it, but it's a clenched fist getting handcuffed. Clenched fist getting handcuffed. Anyone see a correlation there? I don't know the last time I've seen a clenched fist, because they're trying to make this into like the BLM fist. And I've seen images of this turned into propaganda for that purpose. I liken this to Jesus getting crucified. And the hands have been rendered demonic with this particular AI version of it. But here's the real version. They've turned this into the raised fist for White Lives Matter. A white fist, ghostly white, drained of blood, but a white fist with a handcuff. Armin Ross says, well spotted, Tim. Well, that's what we do here. We are pattern recognizers. And again, this is The Economist. And didn't I predict? I said The Economist predicts the future. You can pretty much bet on it. And here we have The Economist predicting the future. So what else can we extrapolate from this? I see the Odyssey. Okay, speaking of the Odyssey, I think there's something going on with Odysseus that we need to look at. Odysseus and PewDiePie. Shout out to PewDiePie and Brenton Tarrant. Okay, Odysseus is a self-hosted AI workspace designed to be a private local alternative to cloud-based tools like ChatGPT. PewDiePie's new free Odysseus AI agent. Not sure what that means, but it's there. It has all kinds of Trojan horse connotations. Armin Ross says the hands are next to missiles. Yeah, that's something. And I see a barge here. I know Seattle's going to have a big barge on 6/11. Tanks. It's like a tarot card. I mean, honestly, it's just so packed with symbolism. And there's one of Bezos's rockets taken off. It's not exploding, but it's the one that Kate Perry launched off in. The one that's roundly been made fun of for a lot of reasons. Well, for a specific reason. In fact, it looks just like Dr. Evil's rocket. And Dr. Evil, I think, is one of the templates for Jeff Bezos, by the way. Moxie says, I messaged you, you blocked me, I came up, I've been following you for 5 years, I'm a flat earth, discriminated against because of my color. You know, that's the thing, though. I get these people who come in here advocating for, a racial grievance mongering. I kick them out, and then they say, I've been a listener for 10 years. I've never missed an episode. I'm your biggest fan. I love the IPS. And now it's like, what are you talking about? If you were a listener, you wouldn't be over here pushing Nick Fuentes talking points. Assuming everyone here is on your same, in your same team, your tribe. Like, no, this isn't what we do here. So like, no, if you've been here for 5 years, you haven't been listening. I've been one of the most outspoken persons against woke rightism. Even before people started calling it woke right, you know, I said red pillism is a form of, or the red pill community is a woke, it's red pill wokeism. And I was describing how it's completely contrived and it's part of the opposite, the antithesis of the far left. That far right, far left, and conspiracy theories are a subset of far right. So, and actually I put out a book called Woke Right because so many people hated that phrase. But I wanted to really put it out that, no, it's actually structural. And so if you're pushing woke right politics, after being here for 5 years, something's off. So I highly doubt that. And if you think the earth is flat, that's fine. Like, I don't know if you can, I don't know what your perspective is on that, but it just seems like if you're going that far, you hit a reset on worldview itself, then what difference does it make about anything else? Like grievance, like politics in general is just kind of small compared to the idea that we've been lied to about everything. Politics seems like a distraction from that. And so you're in here, you know, pushing essentially extremist political ideology. Busy said, if he had been here 5 years, wouldn't he have said this before? No, they all do it. They all do it. It's not the first time. It's a pattern. And I think it's designed not to hit me, but to like, for other people to say, oh, this guy is... Like they've done this before on BitChute. I've been observing woke right types. And honestly, he should call in. If he's not an agent, an operative, a paid shit poster the feds are contracting to spam our chats, yeah, he should call in and say so. If somebody accused me of being a provocateur, maybe even a criminal who made a deal, if somebody accused me of being inauthentic, fake, and manipulative doing the work of Big Brother, yeah, I would call in and I would say that's not true. But this coward's probably not going to call in. After making up some BS about some, as he said, a black man took his job by falsely accusing him of racism. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I don't believe it. Like, what was your job? Like, obviously the guy was lying. Did anybody here take that guy seriously? Till says, Dr. Evil had a hideout in the Space Needle. Yeah, in my Space Needle predictive programming video, I have it. Dr. Evil's, which is an anagram for Elvis, by the way. Dr. Evil's hideout. And it's a Space Needle Starbucks thing. But yeah, 611 live from the Space Needle. I'm going to be in the vicinity. I considered chaining myself to the thing like an environmentalist. Chaining themselves to a giant redwood tree. Like, no, you're not going to psyop away this iconic monument. What's that needle on the far right side of it? Okay, so you have... Yeah, let's see if the Space Needle is in this thing. I see a satellite. Looks Space Needle-y. Syringe. I don't think it's a coincidence that the One World Trade Tower looks like a massive syringe, by the way. The word syringe ties into pan, which does tie into panicdemic, which is the whole pandemic thing. Pan had a pipe called a syrinx. And it's where we get the word syringe. I don't see a Space Needle. I see a bunch of rockets and missiles, though. Everything about this says World War III. Red tanks stand out. I'll take a closer look at it. But the main point of it is this. The kickoff. The World Ahead 2026. It's the world getting kicked like a soccer ball. So this is another reason why 6/11 seems like the starting point. Parallax says, couldn't pay me to go to Seattle. Yeah, I've never been. So I've been to Portland. Nice part of the country. I'm just hoping for rain. But other than that, my intention there, again, I'm not going to be on a soapbox. I'm just there to document. What's up, caller?
Hi, this Tim?
Yeah, how you doing?
Hi, this is Moxie.
Moxie, okay. So, you were saying in the chat that you were fired from your job for pulling a Chud the Builder? Or you were accused...
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday, I got suspended, and the guy didn't like the way I was training him. Said that I said the N-bomb, which I didn't, and now I'm jobless, and I got 7 kids at home. 2 of them are grown.
6, 7.
And
now, question though.
Right.
Can you tell us what the job was? Like, what kind of job were you doing?
I was working at JCI. It's called Johnson Control Incorporated. It's out of York, Pennsylvania. And we make big-ass AC units for, like, skyscrapers and stuff.
And they fired you over a rumor of a racist comment.
Yep. And I asked the HR lady, how can I defend myself? And she got an attitude and was basically like, we're just going to suspend you and we're going to send it over to legal, which what I take from that is they're going to figure out if this is actually a legit fire because I'm already in contact with a lawyer.
Okay, I was going to say, if you're not in contact with a lawyer, you should be, because at a minimum, this is definitely a law. This is suable. That's terrible. I'm sorry that happened. And the reason I was doubting what you were saying is just the context, because even if this did happen, I don't even think necessarily that you could. I mean, I guess I don't know. It's just dirty. I don't know. To accuse somebody of something like that is you'd be libel and slander. So you do have a civil case in this if it's true.
Well, 100%. And I got witnesses saying that the guy was going around telling people that I was saying it when I wasn't. And all I'm saying to you is, I've been listening to you for a long time, dude. I was even a Patreon subscriber for a little bit until I went through some hard times. I've been at this job for 6 months, and before that, I almost died. I got septic. I was in the hospital, lost my other job, and I had to unsubscribe because I couldn't afford it. But I got racially woke through Handsome Truth. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Okay,
I'm sorry. Wait. Handsome Truth, you got Jay pilled. You got Handsome Truth. So Handsome Truth, by the way, is a Fed. He used to be doo-wop. Do you remember that? He was a rapper. He was called Shooby Doo-wop.
Yeah, I know all about that.
But the guys that took. Okay, wait. Okay. You're gonna advertise his domains. You can F off with that. We're not going to your stupid domains. Goyim TV is a Fed, an agitator. He's the one with the sign, Ye was right. He runs around. He does what Chud the Builder does, but he yells out racial epithets towards Jews. This guy is a scammer. So I don't believe this guy. And the fact that he's going to use this platform to promote Handsome Truth, Shooby Doo-wop's shit channels, that's an indicator this guy is a paid shill. That guy, Handsome Truth, he used to send his lemmings to my BitChute, and they would essentially try to get me to platform their stuff. So no, the fact that this guy was, quote, awakened, he became woke right. He said, I'm not woke right. Handsome Truth woke me up. Handsome Truth is the epitome of woke right. You got woke righted by Shuby DeWop, who rebranded himself. Now he's like on steroids and he's got a beard and he runs around like he's a tough guy. But that's not who he is. I think he works for the ADL. Why is that guy here? Exactly, Violet. Why is he here? It's very weird that this guy is here. It's very weird that this Moxie guy would be in our chat. There's no way any of Handsome Truth's lemmings or he would have any interest in what we're talking about, because what we're talking about undermines their entire worldview. I mean, I called this guy out as a scumbag, did I not? I called him out as a scumbag shill plant sent here to spam our chat. There's no way he's been listening for 5 years. He comes in here with a fake sob story of being oppressed, and then he tries to plug that guy's websites. If you don't know who Handsome Truth is, you might remember the signs of the overpass. Ye was right. You may remember various instances of, he's like, basically, he runs around with his groupies and they have Nazi flags and they basically do what Chud the Builder did. What a loser. Yeah, FBI working overtime. Absolutely. Totally a Fed or some kind of convict who made a deal. Yeah, the guy, they call him HT, Handsome Truth. Ollie Bongo says Handsome Truth used to scam Jim Rizzoli. Yeah, I've been monitoring his antics for a while. You know, weirdly enough, yeah, I know, he said I had 6 kids, or 7. Yeah, because that's like, I have like 9 fingers or 10. I mean, like, there are some things you just wouldn't mix up. Like, obviously, the guy was just making it up as he went. Oppression. You know, I saw this video. It's kind of rare. I'll have to ask him about it. There's a video of Jurassic Liars hanging out with Handsome Truth, with Goyim TV. So it's Goyim TV. So if you don't know what Goyim TV is, the woke right believe that Jews secretly call them Goyim. And so they adopt it. It's like their own version of the N-word. Like, you know, you adopt it, you appropriate the words used against you. So they think they're appropriating a racial slander against white people when they call themselves Goyim. So Goyim TV is a woke right, white nationalist movement, but they're just extremely low brow, very low intellect, low brow, very hateful, reactionary, and they're mostly just there for clicks and engagement. It's like Chud the Builder. It's Chud the Builder level stuff. Unbelievable. I don't think he got a lawyer. I don't think he talked to HR. I think his whole purpose was to get into the chat room, drop some talking points so it looks like we endorse it, or give it a tacit endorsement, give it a pass, which I don't. And then he wants to call in and then present his grievance. Called himself woke. He identified as woke after lying in chat saying he wasn't woke. And then he names one of the most obvious shill feds. Like, Goyim TV is one of the most obvious feds. I think he works for the ADL. I think he's on their payroll. And his job is to essentially be a heel. Lord Laney says, anyone with the name Truth is probably not telling you the truth. Yeah, there's something Orwellian about the way the word truth and even the word truth has been used in recent years. Anyway, I mean, I give him props for calling in and confirming what I knew about him from his very first comment. The second I saw him say, Trump kissing Jay ass, I immediately pegged him as a woke right, grievance monger, white, identitarian, anti-Israel S poster. Plain Dakota says JL is on about the pigeons. Yeah, Jurassic Liars is also woke right. Which is why we will never see eye to eye. Whatever we agree with when it comes to patterns and fake news and stuff, I'm not here for tribal warfare or religious warfare. Like I said, I'm an alien to this stuff. But anyway, it's very interesting that this guy would be, I guess, ordered to come over here. And I think that's on purpose. I think when they're trying to shut a channel down or discredit a channel, they put their posters in there. Busy says, quote, I've been listening for 5 years. I've just finally been racially woke. Yeah, racially woke. That is funny. It's like, I'm not woke, right? I'm racially woke. Is that a lack of insight? Is it sophistry? Is he being disingenuous and clever? Or is the guy just dense? And that's why I said these woke right guys are very lowbrow, reactionary, racially woke. But anyway, I appreciate his candidness, intentional or not. It was very revealing. But anyway, we're going to continue this later on. I need to get some short form videos ready for the trip. We were talking about a lot of things today. The world ahead in 2026. The handcuffed raised fist on the cover of The Economist, strangely predicting the handcuffed raised fist of the new White Lives Matter movement. I just want to say thanks everyone for the support and the comments and the research, the pattern recognition, and the discernment. I want to say thanks to the first caller, Plain Decoded, for the awesome suggestion that I get a body cam. Any channel support is going towards the mission. So if you want to help us make it to ground zero and have the greatest impact and possibly have a major game changer live stream, you know where to go. IPS.monster. All support is appreciated. It's all just accelerant. We already have the flame. We're already burning the world stage. We just need more accelerant. Ooh, Lord Laney. That guy needs his own PSYOP trading card. Controlled op collar. Yeah, good one. Speaking of PSYOP trading cards, there are a few left at the Ko-fi shop. Let's go to ko-fi.com/Tim Osman. Pick up some PSYOP trading cards. But I hope you all see now why I just banned J-Pill on site. Just like, look, I do the same thing with Antifa. If someone came in here talking about systemic racism and whiteness, it's out the door. Same thing. Woke right, woke left. It's the same animal.
Hello, Moto.
He's calling back. No, sorry. I'm not your ex-girlfriend. You can leave me alone. We're not taking any callbacks from somebody. Yeah, we're going to be on Kick. We're going to be on Kick. All right, well, have a great, what is it, Friday? And tomorrow, Infinite Plane Saturday will be later in the day because I'm going to be at the flea market selling art.